All right, let's see if this is working because we might be able to go live on Facebook as well. Boom. Let's see how this is working.
Big time.
Yeah. Hey, back in the game. Let's see. Possible esteem trying and let you know. So it looks like Facebook is giving me a problem, and we're going to find out if we can make this work. Don't know. We're finding out.
I remember when Donovan Sharp started that, like it was new at the time where he would go live on YouTube and then on Facebook. I mean, simultaneously.
Gotcha. Well, we might have to try that again another day. I don't know quite how to make it. Okay. There we go. All right, let's see. Save. All right. Well, listen, for those who don't know, we just got finished with a long, in-depth talk on Forex in the private Patreon group. And we had, and I'll put a link to that, but we had a good time. And he really, Nate really dug into some financial things. And that's one of the reasons that I had Patreon. But I wanted to also talk about, the why are we making money in the first place part. Because we didn't really, when we first chatted, we didn't really connect. It wasn't Forex. It was that whole expat lifestyle, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely.
That connected us. But I want you to go back again. Tell them who you are and what you've done and what got you to where you are.
Okay. Nathan Francis, retired Navy Supply Corps logistics officer from Washington, D.C. I have 2 sons. Divorced, traveled around the world in the Navy like a lot of folks, served on the Navy ship, served in Afghanistan, lived overseas, a few places under the protection, while in the military of the U.S. government. I lived in Italy, lived in Afghanistan. I've lived all over the United States, Kansas, San Diego, Florida, Maryland, traveled to lots of countries. And so naturally, well, like for a lot of people, it developed a desire to either reside in a foreign country for part of the year or become a full expatriate. Like I noticed a lot of my friends were doing, well, a substantial amount of people. So now I'm just, I'm a government defense contractor and just slowly trying to work my way to where I can be financially independent enough to find a great country to live in.
Well, from everything that you and I chat about, for you, the Philippines was your to-go spot. Like for me, I live in Brazil. Everybody knows that. On this channel, we talk about 3 things. We talk about money, not just things like Forex and Bitcoin. We talk about social issues with lots of friends, but we talk about a lot of world travel. We talk about a lot of world travel. Yeah. And for you, you said the Philippines was your go-to. That was the place where you felt like, this is what I need.
It is, and it still is. I mean, because I'll have shortly I'll talk about my trip to the DR and how I contrast the two. But no, the Philippines was my go-to spot. I'd always wanted to be there. I think it's a beautiful country. The people are friendly. I own properties there, like I covered on the previous video. But then I also look at, it was my go-to spot, but I was never sure if I was going to be there consistently all year long. At least not for the foreseeable next 5 to 10 years, but I can see myself spending 3 or 4 months there at a time. Maybe as little as 3 weeks. Like sometimes, usually right now, that's the maximum amount of time I'm willing to be away because of my 11-year-old son. And that was based on all the other countries I've been to because I've visited a lot of countries in Europe. I sort of just fell out of desire to go to Europe. Not permanently. I'm sure I'll go back, but I've done the Europe. I lived in Italy, did Europe. I've been to a few parts of Africa. I have some more stuff to see there. I've been through Japan. I'm very curious about Japan, but I guess the Philippines both I had an affinity for it, and it seemed like it would be the easiest as well. Now that I'm gaining experience with the Caribbean and South America, I'm seeing that there's also an opportunity to spend some time in countries here, meaning I had a chance to visit Costa Rica. I wouldn't say I would want to live there, but it was a great place to visit. I had a wonderful time. And the same thing with the DR. I really, really enjoy the DR.
Now, for the DR, for people who don't know, when we say the DR, He means the
Dominican
Dominican Republic.
Because it's close, it's beautiful, tropical, everything, beautiful women, great food. But actually, it still made me appreciate what I have in the Philippines. I think I've built enough of an infrastructure there that the Philippines is going to be there. So I look at it being like a second home away from home while I still kind of forge around the world type of thing.
So you've purchased 3 properties there.
Yes.
If we look at it, well, so that, in my opinion, you're pretty invested. you're pretty invested.
Pretty invested.
If you're talking about, oh, by the way, I'm going to put this in the comment section about the Dominican Republic. Let me put this here. The Republic he visited. Because I have quite a few friends in the Dominican Republic, and I've done quite a few videos with them about it. Brazil versus the Dominican Republic, Atlanta hustle Dominican style, New York hustle Dominican style from some of my friends who've been there, and I hope everybody gets a chance to check those out. And when you went to the Philippines, what is it like that first day? Like when you go to the Philippine Islands, first, what cities have you been to? What cities are you in?
In terms of, okay, well, my places are in all in Manila proper, Makati, Mandaluyong, and Pasay. And I've been in the Philippines to the farthest I've been out so far, unfortunately, I've been to Tagaytay. I've been to a city called Rojas. It's on the island of Capiz, which is the fish capital of the Philippines, actually. But unfortunately, I can honestly say I've spent the far more time in the Manila area than I ever intended to, surrounded by dealing with acquiring and maintaining these properties. But I will be visiting places that I know I'm going to enjoy: Cebu, Boracay. I guess I should say also, full disclosure, of course, anyone who's familiar with the Philippines knows about Angeles City. I've been there. Actually, I have several associates that were looking at going into business together, and one of them owns a few businesses in Angeles City. He's very passionate about Angeles City. So via him, I have kind of doubled down and started spending more time in Angeles City.
What is the relationship between Angeles and the other cities? Is that the capital city?
Yeah, Angeles is pretty much like, no, Angeles is in the province of Pampanga.
Okay.
Angeles is where the famous Philippine walking street is. So if anybody's aware of the walking street, I guess in Thailand, I've never been to Thailand. It's the same thing. Same thing. Girls, bars, pretty much girls and bars. There are other things there, obviously, in Pampanga, but if you're specifically talking about Field Street and Angeles City, that's pretty much what's there.
Gotcha. Well, one of the things I've learned traveling the world is, you can get cute girls everywhere. They're literally printing them off every day in every country in the world. True. What about the Philippine Islands culturally, food-wise, the smell? What are the reasons that someone would consider moving there?
For me, especially now with the what they've done in terms of trying to clean up some of their beaches, was just the simplicity of life. I mean, it's the food. I love the food. I love the friendliness to Americans in general. I mean, things are there's a little bit of a slightly different feeling with Duterte as the current president, but my feeling was that they were always very friendly to Americans. It was very easy for Americans, former military, to become citizens. And so I was looking for a place where I could just sort of just zone out and chill. It really wasn't about girls as much as it is for a lot of people. I mean, obviously, we're all guys. Women factor into a certain degree, but that wasn't the leading factor. So for me, it's just basically simplicity of life. And again, that was investing a lot in the Philippines before I had a chance to do South America and more of the Caribbean, because actually many of the places I wanted to visit, for whatever reason, I'd heard good things and bad things.
Which you do everywhere, yeah.
Which you do everywhere. But there was a period of time where I felt like all I was hearing was bad things, particularly about Colombia, and the DR actually. And so I decided not to even visit those places, because there was just it was always such a heated argument between people on YouTube when they started talking about it. I'm trying to make sense of what's going on, and I figured, hey, this is just not worth it. I mean, whatever's going on there, I don't want a part of it. But again, my friend, who's become a fast friend, much like you, I met him before you, though. His name is James. I think I introduced you on Facebook. He loves the Philippines. He has businesses there. He's pretty much as invested as I am. Well, not as invested as me, but trying to get there.
Well, we got some questions. Look at Gogo. Read what Gogo said to you.
Yeah, I see Gogo. I want to say something. From DC. Hey, I'm from Northwest, living in Santo Domingo. I want to get out that way. Was in Manila and Subic for 6 months in 2018, looking to hear my observations. Subic is beautiful. I used to travel to Subic when I was still on active duty. When we were scoping out, we were doing site surveys for potential operations. We were also working with Military Sea Lift Command, who oddly enough, I actually am a defense contractor for right now. I found Subic to be just like simpler and more, in some ways, more beautiful, definitely more beautiful than Manila. Manila proper, like Tondo, which I'm sure you know. And I plan to visit Subic quite a bit. But at the same time, being from a city, I'm not saying I crave being in a city, but something about Manila, I guess, at least for now, kind of really worked for me at the time that I started going there. Like I have the apartments are small, as you can imagine, as you probably know. Getting around with Grab, not driving anywhere. But I'm sure it was a factor of being retired and having money to spend that was so alluring about it. But it was also that factor mixed with the fact that it's the Philippines. And it's just, I think it's a great country to be in.
So what I want Gogo to do is to email me his information. Yeah. And I'll pass it to you and I can make that connection.
That would be wonderful, especially since he's from DC. We can definitely catch up on DC because my family still lives there. And I literally grew up in the city, not in the suburbs. I'm a true Washingtonian.
Hey, Davey came by to say hello again. You got a new fan.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Davey? Look forward to
do you have an LLC? And he thought foreigners couldn't purchase property there. Maybe he's wrong.
Yes. I do have an LLC, which is located in the US. That's a whole separate story of several entities that I'm building or either already have. Foreigners cannot purchase land in the Philippines. They may purchase a structure, which is why we are able to purchase condominiums, which is what I purchased. And I know that was always a point of contention because I believe the rule, it hasn't been maybe longer than a decade when that rule changed. As an example, there was a cab driver that I hired to kind of be my driver for a couple of years. And whenever I was there, I exclusively would use him. And he wasn't even aware. I mean, he's dropping me off at my apartment and telling me to, really be sure that you own this apartment. I'm like, dude, I think I own the apartment. I have the deed upstairs. And he wasn't aware that the rules had changed to the point where, nope, as a foreigner, you can own property.
Wow. Hey, Zero the Infinite, thanks for stopping by. And you said, hey, make sure everybody hits the like button. Everybody make sure you also click subscribe, or if you're watching on Facebook, the link is below. Go to YouTube and click the subscribe button for YouTube as well, because we talk about a lot of different things. And I'm glad to say that this channel has grown quite a bit by having lots of interesting folks on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we got any other questions in the side. Franciel says hello.
Hello.
So in the Philippines, let's back up. What's the biggest barrier that everybody has? Language, right? We all know language is the big one.
Yep.
What's the main language there, and how well do you speak it on a scale of 1 to 10 being just dead on fluent?
Well, the main language is Tagalog. Even though there are lots of other, language, Cebuano, Papangan, up in the Papangan region, pretty much wherever the main region is will be the language from that region. I Don't speak it very well at all. But
are you basic, so you're not independent? Would you say A1 is dead beginner, A2 elementary, A3 pre-intermediate? Like, could I just drop you off downtown and you'd have no problem asking what bus or train to get on, ordering lunch, and having a coffee chat?
Well, I'd say I wouldn't have a problem doing it because English is so prevalent there.
Oh, come on.
Doing it in Tagalog? No. It's one of the things I experienced in Italy. I understand far more than I can speak because I don't speak it. My friends over there don't force me to speak it. And so I just have to just come full kimono. Open kimono. I need to really practice on that. I've done Pimsleur.
Really?
Oh yeah,
it didn't help you.
I didn't do it dutifully like most things, but I do have Pimsleur. I've learned keywords, meaning I know enough to get my meaning across. But I think about that a lot. I do force my Filipino associates and friends to speak English more to me because they all learn English if they go to school. Because English is not their first language, but it's a primary national language, which is another reason that attracted me to the Philippines is that when you're in Japan, all the signs are in Japanese. Same with Germany, same with Italy. Well, when you're in the Philippines, all the signs are in English. The radio announcements are in English. Everything's in English. So even if you happen to deal with the occasional store clerk or grocery boy or whatever, Gabby, from Grabby, who doesn't understand English, well, okay, that's fine. But English is very prevalent there. So
yeah, I feel like you're cheating yourself there. One of the things that I'm very guilty of, I always tell people, is I let myself not learn Portuguese as fluently as I should have until very recently, when I really dug into, especially during this time we all have at home, sure. I really started digging into my Pimsleur Portuguese lessons, and it's huge. It's huge. Yeah. Like I always say, look, live in Brazil, hustling Portuguese backwards, that's a big one. Like I'll share this with everybody because this is how I believe that, it's just a great tool to have, especially Pimsleur. I'm a big advocate of Pimsleur.
Well, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, trying to learn Tagalog or speaking it. I know you've lived in over 15 countries. In my estimation, and I have like a kind of a passing experience with several languages, Tagalog was actually the toughest for me. And I learned Russian in college, and Tagalog is tougher for me because for some reason it doesn't stick as good as other languages do. Like it was very easy for me to learn Spanish and then Italian after that because I knew Spanish and English. It's very easy, but Tagalog kind of eludes me a little bit sometimes, or a lot sometimes.
Do you think that maybe once you're living there full time, are you going to be able to immerse yourself and just say, you know what? Every day when I wake up, I'm going to make it a point to say today is going to be a day when I speak to everybody in the language from this country and just kind of go out. For me, going shopping, going to the markets, buying everything from meat to, just learning when someone is asking me for money, those things were critically important. And that's how I learned.
Yes, that's going to be my intent. Again, if I'm spending most of my time in Makati is, again, the most affluent. It should be. If it's not, it's among the most affluent. Historically, it was the most affluent city in the Philippines. So it's the business district. So kind of walking around speaking Tagalog as an American, people will be like, what are you doing? Because it's like being in San Diego a little bit. I mean, in a way, for those of you who've been in San Diego or Makati, you know what I'm saying, that there's a sort of relation there.
We got a couple. Hold on, let's see.
Find a way to immerse myself.
He hated Angeles City. Dirty, dusty, and traffic. Manila was like most NIH, I don't know, NIST cities, especially the traffic. Barkay and Subic were perfect away from the bustle, down to earth. So he likes the opposite of what I like. He likes to go places where people are just calm.
He's right. I mean, if I was going to say Angeles wasn't dirty, I'd be lying. It's dirty. The thing is that, again, just open kimono. Sometimes there have been phases of our lives where we want the scumminess. And so
no,
the bill.
No. Okay. Don't say we.
Don't say that.
No, you like that, not the kid.
Okay, sorry. I wanted the scumminess.
Oh, okay, we can go with that.
Okay, I wanted the scumminess, and it was fine. It is dirty. There are parts of Manila. I mean, there are parts of Makati that are dirty. There's this place called Burgo Street, which is essentially like Fields Avenue. But again,
I got to give you some pushback. I would say that every major city anywhere in the world has some dirty areas. The meta question here, if I can put on my pseudo psychologist hat, is why do you hang around those areas? Because I'm fairly certain that Angela's had some nice, decent areas where you can go to a real nice area where the streets are not paved and filth, but you gravitate towards the dirt. Why is that?
You know what? Angeles does. On the periphery outside of Field Street, there are some nice parts of Angeles. In fact, they have a really nice mall. It's called the SM Mall. Most of the malls there are SM, fall under SM Corporation. But, well, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to, have psychotherapy on the couch over here, but there was a period of time where, hey, you know what? I found solace being in dim, dark bars drinking whiskey. And there's a lot of dim, dark bars in Angeles where you can drink whiskey. Oh, and there are pretty women in there too, which is another thing that helps. And it attracted me. But there was a period of time where I didn't go there. I didn't have a desire to go. In fact, that was kind of on the decline. And I just happened to meet this other guy, James, who his sort of base of operations is in Angeles. So I was like, wow, okay, I guess I'll be hanging out here more. So it was just kind of a periodic thing, really. I figured while I'm into it, I'll be into it. And then when that's over, I won't be into it. Kind of like I was all about going to Europe when I lived in Italy. I wanted to go to France. I wanted to go to Germany. Once I was over it, I was over it.
Franciel said Korea, too. A lot of stores have English signs, English in menus. Some employees will probably know how to speak. Let me tell you something. You come to Brazil, you will go places in Sao Paulo where every now and then somebody will say, no, there's someone here who speaks English. But you don't want to bet your lunch money on that.
That's good. I like that, actually. Yeah. Hey. It reminds me of Italy. It reminds me of Italy in the sense that Italians were really proud of their culture, their food, their nationality. And so they really cherished it when you made the effort to learn Italian and speak Italian. It really made a huge difference. And you went to a lot of places where they might be able to pull someone from the back who can speak English, but you might, if you went to a hole in the wall joint, everybody in there might be speaking just Italian. You might have to do the whole, hand gesture thing the whole night. But I loved it.
From the Rockies, who always supports the team. Check the description of current stream for products and services. For people who don't know, for people who may be new to what it is that we do here. I'm not a YouTuber. I kind of fell into this with having some crazy and interesting friends. But I tell people all the time, my main job is I'm an editor, writer, a copy editor. I do ghostwriting for websites. What I've been doing a lot now is writing resumes. I wish I could tell you that it was a normal flow of business, which is normally very good. I operate through references only. I can tell you that a lot of people are afraid right now. So, if I can help some people out, I'm doing so much business that I can afford to go volume. I've been writing I write professional level resumes for people specific for jobs, and in general, contact me if you need something like that done. And I always tell people to check me out on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, it's who I am. I tell people all the time, my name, YusefWateef. And I say scroll past my, what do you call it? I want everybody, if they go to my LinkedIn, to scroll all the way past my actual resume. The internet is slow right now, but what I want everybody to do is scroll all the way down and go to the part where it says, come on. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll send you an email about that, because I'm talking to a few different potential employers, and I have a decent resume, but I need to upgrade it, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll polish it with you. Recommendations. This is where other business professionals say that I really am that good. These are people from around the world who have done business with me and have left lots of comments attesting to my level of professionalism. And I say, go there first before you look at my resume. Look at what people say about me, then go back up and look at it, because that's all that really matters. You know, a man's name is all he ever really has, and my name is good money. Windy City native, thank you. That's because even though we are in quarantine, I have still been exercising heavily. I'm a kettlebell person, and my kettlebell is is with me, so I do kettlebell routines even in the house. Now I can't do kettlebell swings and I can't do Turkish get-ups, but I can still do fundamental kettlebell exercises at home. As a matter of fact, I'll show you guys an outdoor video of me. If anybody hasn't learned about kettlebells, interestingly enough, kettlebells are flying off the shelves. A lot of places don't even have kettlebells anymore because everybody's using them for home right now. And they had a giant influx once the quarantine started where everybody was buying kettlebells. There you go.
Wow.
These are basic exercises that you can do with kettlebells.
How long is your typical kettlebell workout?
Half an hour.
Okay.
See, the thing about a kettlebell is it's one unit of weight for every single exercise you do, and you're doing circuits. You're doing bicep curls, shoulder presses, squats, and so it's through the repetition. Would I like to have, access to my gym where I've got big, heavy weights with, 2 wheels on each side? Yes, but that's not where I am right now. And my goal first, don't get fat over quarantine, and I've gotten, how can I put it, fluffy, because I don't have access to those brutally savage, amounts of weight.
Okay. But yeah, but so that's kind of where I am with the Philippines. I mean, it's kind of distressing because I don't know. I don't predict I'll be able to return until maybe next year. We'll see how things go.
Wow.
Who knows? It could be sooner. I mean, things, you never know. But just based on the restrictions of the U.S., the restrictions in the Philippines, and the behavior of this corona, we'll see.
Wow. And yet the questions, I'm really enjoying it. Thank you all so much for all these serious questions that you've been asking, because that's what we're here for. Now, my big issue with this is, have you addressed the issue of, after the coronavirus, are we in a situation, how will that affect you? First of all, will the Philippines, do you think they'll give you any relief on your mortgages? And I'm not trying to tap your pockets. I'm just saying the world over, everybody's income stream may have been interrupted. Is the Philippines going to give you any relief? Because for me in Brazil, I'm actually eligible for a relief package because I am a permanent resident in Brazil with a registered business here. So I'm eligible for business relief.
Wow.
Are you in that situation?
Yes. Meaning that there's already been some form of relief, meaning they have delayed and deferred payments. So there were no payments due last month. I'm not sure how long that's going to continue. I'm not sure. It would be great if on the other end, it would take the form of permanently deferred payments. So yes, they are looking out for you in that sense. How far it's going to go, I don't know, because I worry that the Philippines is this whole thing is going to do a pretty bad job on their economy. So I'm waiting to see, basically, because one of my mortgages is with one of the larger banks. Is more of an international bank. It's called BDO, and then the other is with the National Philippine Bank, the Philippine National Bank. Still a huge bank, but we'll have to wait and see how things shape up. But I'm expecting whatever happens at the end, it shouldn't be punitive on me.
Okay. Now, the United States is one of the very few countries in the world where you have to pay taxes to the United States, even if you're not living in the United States or earning US dollars. Like, I am an American citizen, and I always will be. I'm in Brazil, earning Brazilian money, paying taxes in Brazil, and paying taxes in America. Now, fortunately, because of the way the economies work, I'm able to manipulate my own salary to the point where, and for the people who don't know this, I spent 9 years as a financial professional. That's what allowed me to semi-retire early back when I was 37 years old, showing people how to put their money in situations to not be taxed heavily on it and doing it legally. So I'm able to do that, but a lot of my friends aren't able to. A lot of my friends aren't able to. How are you juggling that? Because I know you got to pay taxes on 3 properties.
Well, I do, but I don't have to pay anything to the U.S. for them. I was really just fortunate enough to have the income stream to do it, have the income stream to support my activities until I could get renters, which obviously deferred a lot of the cost. And that's pretty much been my game plan, is to have renters. Now, I never saw the endeavor as necessarily being extremely profitable, because it really wouldn't be, but I at least wanted to break even, meaning have the properties perhaps pay for themselves, and then maybe even leave me with a little money to get there. And I was going to be happy with it, because I wasn't doing it to become a super, profitable property owner. I was just doing it for something fun, traveling to a fun country that I wanted to be in, having a very strong reason to be there. And I didn't want to come there and stay at the hotel. Like, I've stayed at the really nice hotels a lot when I travel. I wanted to go back there and go back to my place. That was my apartment and my home. Like, I have like 2 addresses there now. And then when I leave, hey, I can rent it out. I can do Airbnb, whatever the case may be back. In fact, I have a renter in one of my places. It's still the deal just before this COVID lockdown. And then we were just about to get a renter in the other place. And it fell through because I believe it was a Chinese businessman. He went back to China. So I'm looking forward to the place that's currently open. I'm always getting hits on Airbnb for like 3 weeks or a month. So I'm anticipating once I can get it rolling again, I'll find either a renter for a year, or I'll be able to run Airbnb through there.
Okay, and what you're looking for is for the property basically to be able to pay for itself.
Yes, that's all I'm really looking for. I mean, obviously, if it would do more, that would be great. Like the property that I don't own yet, I'm thinking that's probably going to be more on the profitable side, simply because of where it's located. It's located at a great place, and the rents are already very high in that location relative to what my payment should be every month. But the other 2, that was never really the value proposition. I knew going in, I was just kind of going in to have fun and do something different, really.
Going into business to have fun is, I mean, that's a luxury that you and I get to have.
I mean, I think being sure.
Big.
And I think also knowing that I would work if I was still, because I can do contract work. I've done contract work for like the College of William and Mary as a business and logistics advisor, a consultant, and and depending on how bad they need you, you can drive quite a pretty penny. And then I'm retired Navy, and I also receive disability. So that alone is, it's nothing to scoff at in terms of if I were to keep my expenses really low, I really wouldn't have anything to complain about. So, and it kind of gives me the freedom and the latitude to maybe not always be concerned about trying to turn a profit necessarily, because I have that steady, those other supports coming in that are steady.
What I'm looking forward to is a conversation with you about expenses. And I'd like to talk about expenses there and quality of life versus expenses in Brazil, São Paulo, Brazil, and quality of life.
I look forward to that. That would be great.
Now asking questions about the future is always such a dicey proposition. Asking, so when do you think we'll be able to do that? Or when is your next flight? No one knows anything, and it's affecting everyone everywhere.
Yes. It's totally, I mean, none of us has ever lived through anything like this. So
right. In living history, this has not happened.
Yeah. So now we're just hoping for the best. I'm hoping that that things we'll really get our hands around this testing, this mass testing, social separations, particularly before the Philippines plunges into, martial law. I'm not sure how close they really are to it. You hear so many things on Facebook, but again, I have a person who actually retired from the same command, same office that I worked in here in Williamsburg, Virginia. He has a wife and lives in just outside of Manila. Well, I believe it's a suburb of Manila. I think it's called Cavite. He's posting like every day, like literally probably about 5,000 times a day. And when he talks to me, I'm sure he's probably playing it down a little bit, but he comes at it from the angle that Of course, things are very difficult. Of course, people are very scared and very worried, but it's not as bad as some of the posts say on Facebook. I'm in communication daily with several other friends I have, my personal assistant as well. I get a pretty consistent story. They're worried, but they're eating. Things are still happening. And the biggest thing is that they just need commerce to return. They really need that.
Well, here's the interesting part. It's the same in Brazil. Everybody's in the United States. Most people don't realize that the same government and media that you don't trust to give you accurate information about where you live, why would you trust them to give you accurate information about somebody else's country?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why I'm really glad that I have several different sources of folks on the ground, so to speak, who can kind of give me different, give me a good story. And it's kind of a good read because they're located in different areas. They come from different echelons of society, so to speak, so that they have a different perspective. And so when you get a consistent story, no matter where the people are, that kind of helps out.
So we got a question from BK. At Nathan and Yusef, is it easier to acquire and manage multiple properties in the Philippines versus the US? I've never been a property manager. I live a Ninja Turtle lifestyle, meaning all the things that I do for money are things that I can do from an internet connection. I always give people the analogy that I believe generations back, I probably had a relative who threw an axe over his shoulder and set about the world, earning his fortune. And then maybe later in history, I had a relative who threw a rifle over his shoulder and set about the world, making his money. Now I grab my backpack, throw in my computer, and throw my backpack across my shoulder and set about the world, earning my fortune. So for me, having that hard place, that's something I may get into later in life, but it's not where I am now. But what about you?
I really think it's more conditions based. Just meaning I'm actually in the final stages of selling a property I have in Oceanside, California. But it was relatively easy to acquire. I acquired it with my former fiance. And it's been the bane of my existence ever since then, but I'm getting ready to sell it. I was in the process of buying the house I'm currently broadcasting from. And the only reason I didn't close is because I stopped working during, closing, and you shouldn't do that. It's easy to get a property in the Philippines. It's easy to begin the process, is what I should say. Meaning, you can literally be in a mall and get a pamphlet, sign an agreement, and you're on your way to owning a property in the Philippines because they hand out flyers for the places. That gets you as far, if you diligently make your payments, that gets you as far as 20% ownership. The real beast is when it comes time to pay off the other 80% of that bill. Either you have to pay it off in cash or you have to find a way to finance it. I have a mortgage through BDO. I have a mortgage through PNB. I would say, honestly, getting a mortgage in the Philippines is about on par with getting a mortgage in the US. Like, they want almost exactly the same documentation, literally. They scrutinize it the same way. And then they make their decision. Fortunately, again, I'm retired Navy, disability. I was also working as a contractor at the time, so my earnings were quite high at the time that I applied for the loans, so it made it a little easier. So again, that's what I'm saying, it's condition based. When you do it, how stringent the market rules are at the time, your income, your savings, and then the ratio of those factors depends on if you can do it. But I will say you can do it. I've only ever met I've met two other individuals in my travels who did own properties there. One was a GS employee from the US, and the other was a retired special forces guy that I met just on a flight. So I know I'm not the only one who's done it, but I haven't really found the nexus of a group of Americans, particularly brothers, who I can talk to about it, because I haven't met those guys yet. Normally when I'm in the buildings, a lot of times I am the only black person, one of few, or the only black person in the buildings. But I know it can be done if it's something that you really want to do.
Now, here's what's interesting. Being the only Black person when you go somewhere traveling, what I try to express to a lot of people that some folks still have a hard time with, the reason you and I might be the only Black people there isn't because they don't like Black people, because newsflash, everybody likes Black people when they're from America. But you won't know that if you've never left America. But two, a lot of us don't know it's possible. A lot of us don't know that if you're leading an average income life in America, you can lead an average income life almost anywhere in the world. But most people don't know that. Here's a question that I want. You talked about a mortgage. What if you came in, cash in hand, and said, hey, my name is Nate, and I want to buy this place. And you just backed up the truck and says, here's my money. Is it more or less difficult?
I haven't done that yet, but I'm almost positive it'd be way less difficult because you're paying cash, you're closing on the documents, you own the property, and you're done. I'm hoping to, doubling back on Forex, profit enough to maybe do that in the future, because the average cost of the apartments I own is really about $100,000, give or take 10,000. So from dealing with the banks and dealing with the development companies, which I had quite, fisticuffs with over a couple of issues with the banks and the development companies, because one is with SMDC, the other is with Century Properties, which actually has a nexus to Century Properties here in the U.S. It seems as though if you have that cold hard cash, like they say, cash rules everything. That's money in the bank to them. It's great if you get the mortgage, that brings in the money as well. But then, you have the burden of mortgage fees and interest rates. And again, I made kind of like with Forex, I've learned a lot about questions that I should have asked, despite my enthusiasm. But every time I meet it
earlier, and I put this in there because I don't want to go too far past it. When you talked about going back to Forex, we did a great conversation on how to start Forex earlier. I left a link in the description for people who want to go and check that out. We had a good time. We had a good time. Yeah. We learned quite a bit, and you shared a lot of information. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's something we definitely got to revisit because there's such a large volume of information to take in at one time. But I know that's the most common phrase I hear or response from people is Americans cannot own property in the Philippines. And it used to be that way. It used to be that I think the rule was that, from what I understand, you had to be married to a Philippine national, which obviously opened up Americans to huge potential liability, right? If the marriage goes south, the relationship goes south, well, there goes your house. And that's usually what would happen. In fact, if that had been the proposition, I would not own properties because there's no way I would do that. Once I, sat down with the bank, sat down with the development companies and was like, did the double take. And they said, yes, sir, you can buy property here yourself. No one else on the deed or the title. I was in. And it was exhilarating.
BK had another question. He said, is the internet infrastructure good enough in the Philippines to do contract work, editing, call center, Forex trading? Like in the U.S., the money would go further than in the United States. But, for example, people would ask me, well, how's the internet in Sao Paulo, Brazil? I'm like, I'm talking to you doing a video on Wi-Fi. How good?
I think it's funny. I'd say it's great and improving all the time. Yes, that's the short answer. You can do contract work. Does the Philippines have brownouts? They sure do, depending on where you live. So you have to factor that in. Are you way out in the province? Are you in the big city? I have internet. I have cable. Now, are things like business centers as available? No. I had trouble finding a place where I could print and scan documents, so I bought my own printer fax machine. Works wonderful.
That was the first business purchase I made in Brazil. Is I bought a scanner printer because. Mm-hmm. You can go to a scanner printer place, but I'm like, I'm not paying that much.
Exactly. And in the Philippines, they're when you go to those places where they have those, either you have to go to the really expensive hotels, which is fine, or you go to the little computer, cafe. And a lot of times you don't necessarily want to go there. But no, I would say be prepared for the occasional outage, particularly in the rainy season, storm season. But in terms of it being a problem, like if someone would ever say, "Oh, I can't get contract work done because of the internet in the Philippines," they're completely lying. The Philippines' internet infrastructure is improving. It was very sturdy, 5 or 6 years ago. It's improving every year, and with the foreign direct investment from China, Japan, and Korea, which should remain relatively uninterrupted. Literally every time I would go back and land in Manila on my way to my apartment, you could see the improvements of the city. You can see it. You can see the improve of the roads and the buildings, and commensurate with that are the phone lines and internet lines. So not a problem at all.
Gogo Travel said the Philippines was the only country out of all that he's lived in where my pension would hold me. Here in Santo Domingo, I have to dig into my savings. Also the same in Colombia. Where is Santo Domingo?
Really?
I don't know where Santo Domingo is.
I think it's more DR, Dominican Republic.
Okay. Now I get it. Yeah. Now I get it. Okay.
I can see that. Again, I only had 4 wonderful, glorious, amazing days in the DR, but I can see how because actually the Philippine peso and the Dominican Republic, Dominican peso, like on paper, they're almost identical. But I think
spending power.
I think the price points are what's different in the Dominican Republic, and it's something I plan on exploring when I go back, because I'm just looking for the simple pleasures there, like going to the beach or
what is the capital city in the Dominican Republic?
I think it's Santo Domingo or Santiago. I'm not sure. I gotta learn. I don't know. My friends took me to Sausalito.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to show you one of my favorite websites called Numbeo.
Oh yeah, Numbeo. That's a great site
because it allows you, and it's a very accurate site.
Mm-hmm.
It allows people to compare the prices in different countries. So consumer prices in Manila are lower. Rent is higher than Santo Domingo. Rent prices are higher than Santo Domingo. Restaurants are lower. Grocery prices are lower, which means cooking at home, which is always, and purchasing power is lower than in Santo Domingo. And what people can do is on this website, and again, I don't make any money from Numbeo, but you can go down and look at the price in US dollars. That's how I switched it. In Santo Domingo, it's $5.50. In Manila, it's $4. Meal for 2 people, 20 in Manila. Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, 30. Okay, wow, yeah. So it's a little cheaper.
Yeah.
For me, let's say chicken. We eat a lot of chicken, cheaper. Yeah, it looks like on the food aspect. But let's scroll down. Transportation. Now, here's a question. Transportation. Are you Ubering everywhere? Do you have a personal driver? How are you dealing with that?
Grab, which is the equivalent of Uber, and I grab everywhere. It's like Uber. I think they kicked Uber out. And I do that everywhere. No driving myself. No interest in doing it. It can get pricey if you don't pay attention. Because sometimes the conversion, you're not really conscious of the conversion in your mind, so you might spend more than you are realizing you are. But I grab everywhere.
Now here's the big one: rent. Apartment, 1 bedroom in the middle of the city. Santo Domingo, it's Dominican Republic, $454 US, and in Manila, it's $611.
Mm-hmm. See, I think these numbers, just from my interpretation, they're a composite. And what I mean by that is that, again, places like BGC, Bonifacio Global City, which is like mirroring Makati, and there are a few other like Eastwood. Those are very affluent business district centered areas, which are in Manila. However, there's a place called Tondo, Manila, which is probably like it had the notorious reputation of being pretty much almost like hell on earth. So that's probably kind of strong, but a lot of poverty. You might not want to travel there as an American at night. You might not want to be there. In certain parts of it, it's just the reality. Very, very low prices. So you almost have to drill down into where in Manila are you
Right.
going to be?
Because people ask me all the time, they say, well, Wateef, I read in Brazil there are places you don't want to live. And I'd be like, I read there are places in the United States you don't want to live either. I don't live in those places. Like, I didn't live in poverty in America, living in the hood, dodging bullets. Why would I do it living abroad? Exactly. I live in a walk down the street with my phone in my hand,
Exactly. It's kind of a fake me out when people say stuff like that. But I grew up in DC when the National Guard was literally up on the corner of Upshur Street. So it's a fake me out because, if you go to the poor crime-ridden area of any nation, like you said, well, you might end up dead. So don't go there.
I think the whole cash deals are really easy in the Philippines and in Thailand. I think that's why I read stories about those countries not selling land to Europeans, but all right with selling condos to them. One of the things that a lot of countries have to deal with is they got to be very careful because they can't let people with outside money and a favorable exchange rate come in and just maul them. If they didn't have a lot of restrictions on where money could come from and how it could be spent, you'd end up with people like us coming in there with a bankroll and just buying their country out.
In fact, that's something that you see in the Philippines, meaning in a lot of these, mid-price to high-end condos, because the ones I live in really are, they're considered maybe the bottom tier of luxury. Certainly not luxury. You have a lot of you have some of Singaporeans who can come in and buy like a block of 10 condos. So that they do have to have checks and balances. And I believe behind the scenes, there's even a ratio of the amount of various nationalities they're allowed to own spaces in various developments. I've never asked that question. It's just something I sort of observed from talking to the different salespeople. So it's very interesting though. Yeah.
Read that.
BGC apartment was almost 1,000. Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. That's completely on. My Makati apartment is about, I want to say 39,000 pesos, maybe 44,000 pesos, but it was ready for occupancy. My Mandaluyong, well, I got boned on that one because I thought the mortgage was going to be 10 years and I didn't ask. Impulsive. Yusef knows that. It's 5 years. So basically I'm getting double pumped. So I thought it was going to be about 500.
You forgot to ask the term of the mortgage. How, the story for a man who has so much success in a career as difficult as the United States military, it amazes me that you have any money at all. Because it seems like you would just sign a document and it would just be gone.
You know what? In all full disclosure, there was a brief period of time where I was completely lunching. I was like, I look back on some of the things I did and I don't know how I did it. But anyway, that's a long another story. But I didn't ask because I already had a loan. I felt fairly certain it was going to be a 10-year loan. So it was going to be like $550. This is Aqua Residences. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's a great development though. But I can see it. It's Subic. That makes complete sense. About $400 a month. I think it would be the same if you got a place in Pampanga. And I'm curious to know what it would be like in places like Cebu. Cebu is a small island in the Philippines, but it's very popular for expatriates. So I bet the prices would be kind of elevated there as well. That makes sense. I pay about, I pay $800 US for my place in Makati. About $1,100 for my place in Mandaluyong, and about $1,000 for my place in Pasay, which is over near the Mall of Asia.
So let's wind it down with this. As we make this home lap, this victory lap. If someone said to you, you know what? I want to do two things. My first trip, I want to take a month and I want to go out to the Philippines to just enjoy Philippine life and enjoy it and come home. But then I want you to also give a different say, okay, well, this is what I would tell somebody who's just coming to hang out for a month. And I also want to know, what would you tell somebody who says, I'm willing to make the big move. I didn't believe YusefWateef from going to Brazil. I'm going to the Philippines with Nathan. What would you tell him how to set that up? Give me both scenarios.
Someone who's just going to visit and someone who's going to go in for the long haul. Someone who's just going to visit, I'd say, Make sure you take in the big cities as well as get out to the outlying provinces and figure out what you prefer. Meaning, a perfect example would be people like I thought I wanted to be in a very small house out in the province, chilling with nothing else to do except chill. But I am equally happy being in the Manila city overlooking the skyline. And what's a huge, big ass city from the 50th floor. That's where one of my apartments is, on the 50th floor in a city. And I never would have thought I would have enjoyed that, but in a different environment, I do. So in essence, use that time to figure out what about the Philippines you really like. For the person who just knows he's going balls in, direct him to the person who's going for a month. Figure out what you really want to, what you really like. Learn as much about the laws in terms of civil, criminal. Learn the financial laws. Everything about all that kind of stuff. Property managing. Invest time and that sort of thing. Invest time in building networks, meaning I associated with certain people in the very beginning who I felt I needed them. They helped me do things I wouldn't have been to do otherwise, but they sort of were always like taking a little taste along the way. Kind of like molesting you, but helping you. And then that's kind of a bad way to put it, like your uncle that gives you money, but molests you, like Chris Rock said. Meaning there was a guy who helped me. Without him, I could not have gotten my property in Makati. However, whenever I wasn't there, he was staycationing in my place and not telling me. He stayed staycationing, wearing my stuff out. Anyway, I just don't want to get down that rabbit hole. And he wouldn't be honest about it. All I wanted was honesty.
So basically, when you were gone, he would let himself into your place and live the high life in your apartment.
Without asking, pretty much. I tried to believe otherwise, like that he would never do that, but that's not true. Meaning, once I finally had the apartment ready for my first Airbnb encounter, I left on a Friday. I'd installed surveillance that I didn't tell him about. Those cameras.
You got one of those cams, a little teddy bear with a camera in the eyes.
Yeah, and I arranged it so that it was facing the ceiling inside of a structure, so that I couldn't see anything, which could piss people off, but you could hear if someone was in the place. I call him. I get home. I'm hoping for the best. I call him on the phone. I go, fire up the camera. True to form, someone's in my place. So I call him like Noel. His name is Noel. Where you at, buddy? Oh, I'm out at the mall buying some stuff for the unit. I'm like, okay, well, where are you, buddy? He's like, I'm out buying stuff. I'm like, Noel, I have a surveillance system in the place. He's like, oh, I forgot to ask if I can staycation. I'm like, oh God.
Wow, I forgot to ask.
Exactly. I forgot to ask. He hit me with that. I'm like, my heart sank because I knew how this relationship was going to be for the rest of the time I was dealing with this guy. As opposed to now, I found a young assistant. No, it doesn't matter if she's young, but a thorough assistant who, as far as I know, you never know, but she saved my bacon on a lot of things. Meaning, I hadn't thought about things like municipal taxes and stuff like that. I should have, but I didn't. Long story. And she when she took over, like I guess assisting me and managing me, she came up to speed with where I was with everything. And she's like, okay, you got some glaring holes in with the shit you've done. We need to get you straight. So then she started running around, getting all the documents I needed, going to all the organizations, telling me where to send the money to and getting the receipts, which is really important. Noel never really succeeded at giving me receipts. So for the brother who's going to just go dive in, build a strong network of professionals, people who don't want to take advantage of you because you're an American, actually know some shit, and you can put a reasonable amount of confidence in them because they're professional. If you try to lowball things,
Nathan, you had a moocher on your hands, yeah.
I did. I mean, it was crazy because I go back, he'd be like, no one had been in the place, but my electric bill was like, 6,000 pesos, which is crazy. My rice cooker looked like it had been used at a, every day at a buffet. I'm like, dude, my rice cooker's, burned the fuck out. What do you mean? So just little shit like that. It got to the point, I don't want to belabor this, but he actually asked me to upgrade my cable package because Airbnb clients requested it. I'm thinking the balls on this guy. He asked me to upgrade my cable package?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But yeah, that was no out.
Let's move past that. Let's talk some game real quick. We got a lot of people watching and a lot of people who will watch this in the future.
Oh, really? Okay.
Your assistant, how long
was watching?
Huh?
I can't see who's watching.
The assistant that you have now that saved you money, how long has she been on your team?
She's been on my team since I guess now maybe about 8 months.
Okay. Have you given her a bonus yet?
Yes.
Okay. Every 6 months, even if you would give her an end of the year bonus and you cut it in half, every 6 months you give her I would give her cash. That way she shouldn't have to worry about registering it. Say, let me tell you why I'm giving you this. You saved me money here, 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 and here, and this is a percentage of that saving. So there is a direct relationship in her mind, that Pavlovian response, that when I save Nathan money, he gives me a part of the money he saves. That's some business.
Yes. Okay? Yep. That's good game. Because I actually stumbled onto that. Like, we were in between me giving her normal compensation, but she really discovered like one of those tax issues that I needed to take care of. And I think I gave her like, it was, maybe 4,000 pesos, which is like $80. And she was eternally grateful. She was like, she didn't see it coming. She was so grateful. So I'm really hoping good things from her because like she's the one of the assistants who's gone above and beyond. And just so you guys know how I selected assistants, I actually ran an ad on Craigslist. Like, you're already going down murky waters, but I actually requested 2 forms of ID. If they had it, I would accept one. I accepted a resume, and we did 2 video interviews over WhatsApp, Viber, whichever one they can manage. So I really tried to vet people very hard.
I'm going to give you some other tips right now. Right now, there are people, and by the way, anybody who wants to contact Nathan, feel free to give me your contact information, and I'll send it to him. I'm at YusefWateef@gmail.com. So again, anybody who wants to contact Nathan, catch me here, and I'll make sure to pass it to him. Now, Nathan, let me tell you some of the questions that are going to start coming in. Okay. You ready? You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Can you introduce me to your assistant? Because I think I would like to hire somebody like her.
Okay, I can see that. Wow. I asked someone the same question.
Stop. See, you had to think about it. The answer is no. What I can do is you tell me what you're interested in. I may be able to broker and manage her doing business for other people as well. But ultimately, I'm going to be the person to broker her so that she doesn't get taken advantage of any business with other people.
Okay, good. I was kind of lukewarm on that one.
And that's what you tell her. You say, hey, listen, I've got some other friends coming in with wallets. They want you to do things for them. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to broker all those deals for you. I'm going to make sure you get 99% of the money. I mean, with what they'll be paying her, I don't even know if it'll be worth it for you to take a cut. But you tell her you could do it on your own, but the entire reason is some people are going to be out to get you.
I got it. I see what you're saying. You're right. That would be good because, for what we can afford to pay them, and what the average salary is there, you can really reward a deserving person very well. And I'll just leave it at that for not much money out of your pocket.
And the other thing I would say, you got Quiet Thunder here living in Cebu. He's got 2 condos in Cebu. You two might end up being neighbors. Quiet Thunder, send me your information. I'll make sure he gets it.
That'd be great. I love to visit Cebu. I swear I've heard nothing but wonderful things about that place.
Yeah, you two can hang out and get coffee together. Let's see. Again, BK from the Rockies. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Listen, we've done a marathon, my friend. When I hit end broadcast, I'm going to kick everybody else out of the room. You and I are going to have a few minutes of conversation. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you opening up about this. We're going to do this again when you're in the Philippines, right?
Awesome. That would be great.
Okay. We're going to do this again when you're in the Philippines. For those who don't know, like I said earlier, we did a great conversation on Patreon about some other things. But I also want to tell people that just like I talked to you about brokering deals and different pieces of technical information, this is where I go. I always tell people that you should certainly catch me on Patreon for details on money, life, things that I've done traveling, things that I'm able to help people with. This is where you want to go for that. Check it out, because I've been able to really do quite a bit of progress with people, progress with clients, progress with friends who need detailed information that, quite frankly, I'm not going to put out there just for everyone. And I'll show everybody, and I hope they get a kick out of this, because I had to. And for anybody, if you know, here is where I am. Arrogance, cutthroat, and arcane. The arrogance is where I just put jewels every day, every couple of days, just small things that matter here and there. The cutthroat level is where a lot of the technical information goes. Like we just did, an hour and a half on how to set up and use Forex. Yep. The arcane mentorship level, that's me holding hands with you. That's me talking to people one-on-one, going through life plans, business plans, things of that nature with them. And I say that to say this. I hope everybody is safe. I hope your loved ones are safe. Oh my goodness. Charles Oliver. Wow. We go back to Hawaii. We're going to have a Facebook call, Charles. I'd love to catch up with you. And I hope you and your team are doing well. Anything you want to give any parting shots to?
Nope. I hope I answered people's questions, and I look forward to coming back.
All right. Everybody have a good night. Charles, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel.